The collision. The research station Nebula's Edge floated serenely against the swirling backdrop of the crimson expanse, its crystalline corridors catching and refracting the light of 3 distant suns. Dr. Kaya Meridian adjusted her laboratory goggles, her violet-tinted skin shimmering under the bioluminescent panels as she carefully extracted samples from a particularly volatile specimen of Zerathian moss. Another thrilling day of watching plants glow. The deep voice made her nearly drop her extraction tool. Captain Jace Ryder leaned against the doorframe, his flight jacket casually draped over his shoulders. His dark eyes held that familiar hint of amusement that both irritated and intrigued her. As the station's newly assigned pilot, he'd been making these unnecessary visits to her lab for the past week. Some of us contribute to scientific advancement rather than just pressing buttons in a cockpit, Kaya replied, not bothering to look up from her work. Her silvery hair fell forward, obscuring the slight smile tugging at her lips. Pressing buttons. Jace stepped into the lab, his boots clicking against the polished floor. I'll have you know I successfully navigated us through a meteor shower yesterday while you were playing with your glowing weeds. They're not weeds, they're, she turned sharply, her elbow catching a beaker of reactive solution. The luminous blue liquid splashed across her arm and chest, immediately beginning to foam and spark with harmless but dramatic effect. Oh! Kaya gasped, more from surprise than pain. The solution was designed to react with organic matter, creating a dazzling light show that danced across her skin like tiny stars. Jace moved instantly, grabbing a neutralizing cloth from the emergency station. Are you hurt? His hands were gentle as he helped dab at the sparkling liquid, his fingers accidentally brushing against her arm. Your heroic rescue might be more effective if you weren't spreading it around, she said, but her voice had softened. The chemical reaction cast them both in an ethereal blue glow, and suddenly the space between them felt charged with more than just bioluminescent compounds. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the vast cosmos outside seemed to pause. Jace's hand stilled on her arm, the cloth forgotten. I should probably let you handle this, he said quietly, though he didn't move away. Probably, she agreed, equally still. The moment stretched between them like stardust, delicate and infinite. Revelations in starlight. The observatory tower pierced Celestara's sky like a needle through fabric, its apex opening to the cosmos. Lyric found Nyxra there at midnight, her silhouette etched against the vast stellar canvas. She'd sent for him through a private channel, bypassing all protocol. My advisors know, she said without turning. About Aria. About my growing feelings for you. They're demanding I choose between acknowledging my daughter and maintaining the peace negotiations. Lyric moved behind her, close enough that her hair brushed his chest. And what does your heart demand? She spun to face him, her eyes fierce. My heart demands impossible things. It wants my daughter returned to me. It wants to stop pretending I don't burn every time you enter a room. Her hand pressed against his chest. It wants to know what your lips taste like, even though kissing you could ignite a political firestorm. Then burn with me, Lyric whispered, cupping her face. Her skin felt like cool silk beneath his palms, pulsing with inner light that intensified at his touch. Their lips met, and the observatory's crystals resonated in response, creating a symphony of pure harmonics. Nyxra's arms wrapped around his neck as she pressed against him, her bioluminescent patterns flaring bright enough to cast shadows. Lyric deepened the kiss, one hand tangling in her floating hair while the other traced the elegant curve of her spine. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. This changes everything, Nyxra gasped. Everything was already changing, Lyric countered, holding her close. Your daughter lives. The heir your people thought lost has returned. We can use this. Build a future where human and Celestian bonds aren't forbidden but celebrated. The traditionalists will revolt. Senator Vex has already suggested that Aria is an imposter, that I'm fabricating this to justify taking a human consort. Then we prove them wrong. Lyric kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the sensitive spot where her jaw met her throat, drawing soft sighs from her lips. We show them that love between our species creates something beautiful. Aria is living proof. You make it sound simple, she murmured, her hands exploring the planes of his back. Nothing about this is simple, he admitted, capturing her mouth again in a kiss that was both promise and plea. But it's worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. A communication crystal chimed urgently. Nixera reluctantly activated it, and a hologram of her chief advisor appeared. Your Radiance, the Council demands your immediate presence. The human delegation has received word of complications. They're threatening to withdraw from negotiations unless Ambassador Thorn returns to Earth immediately. Nixera's hand found lyrics, their fingers intertwining. Tell them we're coming. Together. Storm warnings. The cosmic storm hit without warning 3 days later. Kaya watched the swirling chaos through the observation deck's reinforced windows, her tablet clutched against her chest. The station's shields held, but the electromagnetic interference had knocked out half their systems. We need to manually recalibrate the navigation array, Jace's voice came from behind her. He looked tired, having spent the last 12 hours keeping them stable. I could use someone who actually understands the mathematical sequences. It was as close to asking for help as his pride would allow. She found it endearing. Lucky for you, I speak fluent mathematics, she said, following him through the darkened corridors. Emergency lighting cast everything in deep red, making the journey feel intimate despite the danger. The navigation chamber was cramped, forcing them to work in close proximity. As she input recalibration sequences, Jace held emergency lights, their bodies necessarily pressed together in the small space. Each brush of contact sent sparks through her that had nothing to do with the electrical storms outside. Sequence 7 needs adjustment, she murmured, reaching across him to access another panel. Her chest pressed against his back, and she felt his sharp intake of breath. Kaya, he said softly, her name like a prayer on his lips. It was the first time he'd used her given name. She stilled, her hands frozen on the controls. We should focus on. The station lurched violently. Jace's arms instinctively wrapped around her, pulling her against him as they stumbled into the wall. They stayed there, breathing hard, his body shielding hers even after the turbulence passed. You're shaking, he observed, his voice rough. It's the adrenaline, she lied. Truth was, being held by him was overwhelming her senses. Her species was naturally empathic through touch, and the feelings pouring from him were intoxicating. Desire mixed with protective instinct and something deeper she didn't dare name. Just adrenaline. His lips were near her ear, sending shivers down her spine. She turned in his arms, meeting his intense gaze. Jace, we can't. Can't what? Feel this. His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. I've been trying to ignore it since the moment I walked into your lab. The storm, she whispered weakly. Will pass, he finished. But this won't. The station lurched again, but neither of them moved. The universe raged outside, but in that small space, they'd found their own gravity. Gravitational pull. The storm passed, leaving them with damaged equipment and unspoken words. For 2 days, they danced around each other, professional during shifts but stealing glances when they thought the other wasn't looking. The crew noticed, how could they not, but said nothing. Kaya found herself in the observation lounge late one night, unable to sleep. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the transparent aluminum, and she traced constellations from her homeworld with her finger on the glass. Couldn't sleep either. Jace appeared beside her, 2 glasses of Alterian wine in hand. She accepted one gratefully. My people don't require much sleep. We process energy differently. Tell me about your world, he said, settling beside her on the cushioned bench. Close enough that she could feel his warmth, but not quite touching. Why the sudden interest in xenobiology? She asked, amused. I'm interested in you, he said simply. All of you. Your world, your work, the way your eyes light up when you discover something new. The way you bite your lip when you're concentrating. You've been watching me rather closely, Captain. Jace, he corrected. And yes, I have. Does that bother you? She considered the question, taking a sip of wine. My people, we bond differently than humans. Touch is sacred to us. It creates connections that run deeper than your species typically experiences. Is that why you've been avoiding me? You're afraid of what you'll feel. I'm afraid of what I already feel, she admitted, the wine making her brave. When you touched me in the navigation chamber, I felt everything. Your loneliness, your desire, your love, he supplied quietly. Her breath caught. You can't love someone you've known for 2 weeks. Can't I? He set down his glass, turning to face her fully. I've lived among the stars for 10 years, Kaya. I've seen wonders that defy explanation, phenomena that shouldn't exist. Why should love follow conventional rules? She looked at him then, really looked at him. Saw the vulnerability he kept hidden beneath his cockiness, the gentle heart beneath the warrior's exterior. Slowly, deliberately, she reached out and took his hand. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. His emotions flooded through her, desire, yes, but also tenderness, admiration, and a deep yearning that matched her own. She gasped at the intensity. This is what you do to me, she whispered. What you are to me. His free hand came up to cradle her face, and she leaned into the touch, letting him feel what she felt, the magnitude of her own growing love. Constellation of hearts. The Arboretum was Jace's idea. Neutral ground, he'd called it, though nothing about their situation felt neutral anymore. The biodome contained flora from a dozen worlds, creating an impossible garden where purple leaves grew beside crystalline flowers and bioluminescent vines cast everything in soft, shifting light. Kaya found him beside the Terran roses he'd been carefully tending, a reminder of his Earth heritage. He looked uncertain, an expression she'd rarely seen on his confident face. You've been avoiding me again, he said without preamble. I've been thinking. She moved closer, drawn by invisible forces. About us. About what this means. And my research contract ends in 3 months. Your assignment here is permanent. The facts hung heavy between them. So we have 3 months, he said, reaching for her hand. She let him take it, their fingers intertwining naturally now. And then what? I return to my world, you stay here, and we pretend this never happened. Or, he pulled her closer, his other arm wrapping around her waist, you could extend your contract. Or I could request reassignment. Or we could find a third option we haven't thought of yet. You make it sound simple. Love is simple, he said, tilting her chin up. It's everything else that's complicated. She laughed, the sound bright in the quiet garden. That might be the most romantic, illogical thing you've said. I have my moments. His expression grew serious. Kaya, I don't know what the future holds. But I know that when I'm with you, the universe makes sense in a way it never has before. Your laugh is my favorite sound. Your mind amazes me daily. And when you touch me, I feel complete. Tears gathered in her eyes, her bioluminescent freckles glowing bright with emotion. My people have a saying, hearts that glow together, grow together. What does it mean? Instead of answering with words, she pressed her palm to his chest, letting him feel the full depth of her love, her hope, her choice to stay. His eyes widened at the intensity, then softened with understanding. So you'll stay. I'll stay, she confirmed, then pulled him down for a kiss that set every nerve ending alight. Around them, the garden seemed to pulse with sympathetic light, as if the universe itself approved. When they finally broke apart, breathless and glowing, literally in her case, Jace rested his forehead against hers. You know, he murmured, you never did explain what that chemical was that spilled on you. She smiled mysteriously. It's called attraction catalyst. Completely harmless, but it reveals existing chemical connections between compatible individuals. His eyes widened. You mean? We were always meant to find each other, Jace Ryder. The universe just gave us a little push. Under the alien stars, in a garden of impossible things, 2 hearts from different worlds beat as one.